So here's the reality. Work-life balance is a myth, right? We can change up the words and call it like work-life integration, work-life harmony, but they all mean the same thing, right? And they all have the same problem. They all set up this expectation that we are going to equalize in some way the effort or the labor that we're spending on our life and the effort and the labor that we're spending on our work, right? And it sets up the system of bartering with yourself and rationing time and attention between these two things. If you give more time to your work, you're giving less time to your life. If you give more attention to your life, you're giving less time and attention to your work, right? So one is always losing and the other one is always winning. And we are striving for some unattainable and highly subjective thing that we call balance, that we call harmony, that we call integration, right? And at the same time, all of this ends up putting work first. So, welcome back to the Launch Your Business Live, where we make making money online clear and simple and successful. So you can build wealth and independence, work from home, and turn a part time business into your full time income. Now, my name is Marianne Lombardi, and I am the founder and CEO of Marianne Lombardi Coaching. I'm an author, a former educator, and the single parent of the coolest teenager on the planet. And I've been helping small business owners thrive for 20 plus years. And my mission is to do the same for you. So let's jump in and go a little deeper on this work-life balance thing. So work-life balance is a myth, right? We have a life. That's it. How we choose to live that life is really all that matters. And your life is the container for everything that weaves in and out of it, right? Everything else is there to serve that life. And we get to determine what things support that life, right? And what things are going to get in the way of that life. That's up to us. We get to choose what that is. And your work, whether it's your business, whether it's your job, is there to support that life. And it has a big role to play because it provides often the primary financial contribution to that life. And it also can provide other things, right? Like it can provide meaning and value and inspiration and all that kind of stuff. But at the same point in time, it doesn't have to. You don't have to identify that strongly with your work. It's totally up to you. No matter what it provides you, it is a contributor to the container that is your life. It is not a separate thing. It doesn't sit over here separately as, here's your work and here's your life. And those two things together make up what? No, there's just the life. Okay. And so what we know of as work-life balance today originated in the early 20th century with the onset of the 8-hour workday, which workers fought really, really hard to get. And this work-life balance, even though it wasn't called that, was commonly defined as this ability to compartmentalize job tasks and life tasks. So, and the idea began when paid labor was often confined to a place, right? Confined to a factory, to an office, etc. And when that work was primarily done by men, because at that time, only 20% of women were in the workforce. And most of them were unmarried, right? So you only had like 5% of married women who were in the workforce. So now, obviously, things have changed. And they've changed dramatically because work, paid labor, and I want to make clear we're talking about paid labor, is not confined to a place. We take it with us wherever we go, for good or for bad. And the tools that are supposed to provide us the flexibility, they do that. All these new technologies and all these new tools, they do. They provide flexibility, but they also provide access to us 24/7. Plus, the demographics of the workforce has changed because now there's about like roughly 68% of non-married women in the workforce and 58% of married women are in the workforce. Add on to that, the women are still doing the majority of the unpaid labor in the home and the family. Now, here's my point. My point is this concept of work-life balance as we currently understand it does not work, especially for women. Because women's work is never done. They work their paid shift, they work their unpaid shift, the night shift, and are often working other people's shifts because they're helping out, right? Because they can't help themselves to help out because they're awesome. But it is not reasonable to think about work and life as if they can be balanced in some way, because the math of that isn't even possible. It's not practical. And the striving for it as it is currently defined is fucking stressful. It's a recipe for burnout, overwhelm, physical, mental health problems, and a sense of being underwater all the time. So we need a new way to think about it, right? Instead of thinking in terms of balance, thinking in terms of support. Instead of seeking a work-life balance, seeking a work adventure that supports the life or lifestyle that you choose to live, because it starts from the life and it builds from there. So you want a work life, however you think about it, that is underscoring, that is supporting whatever that life is. And that life includes you, it includes the people and the things and the activities that you care about and love. It includes your goals and your dreams for the future, and the infrastructure that supports those things. And that infrastructure includes your work, right? It's like the work holds things up. It makes those things possible in many ways, but it isn't the thing. The thing is your life. The thing is the thing that you want to do, and the people that you love. That's the thing. So what can we do about it? First, we got to stop, right? We just have to stop. We have to stop striving for balance. We have to stop reading those articles. We have to stop trying to prove that we can do it all, because the goal is not to do it all. The goal is to do what you want. Okay? The goal isn't to do it all. What does that mean? It all. This magical it all thing. No, the goal is to do what you want. We have to stop competing with our neighbors and our peers and other women who look like they have it all figured out, and stop playing the game as it is currently presented to us, because it's not a fun game, right? And why play a game that makes us miserable? We just can't. We just should stop. Second, we need to start to get to know ourselves, who we are and what we want unapologetically. Now, it seems like that's a sort of simple, obvious thing, but for many of us, we have never asked ourselves, what do I want? I guarantee you, you know what your kids want, your partners want, your family wants, what the kids you teach want, probably what your colleague wants, what your community wants. But what do you actually want? And part of me is I go off on a slight tangent, but this is important. The reality is, we are born into a world of circumstances and expectations that script our identity before we can even make a choice about who we are and what we want. And there is so much about who we become that we do not choose. We do not choose our genetics, our socioeconomic status, our place of origin, our ethnicity, our race, our parents' education, or even our parents' desire to parent a child, right? And on top of that, there's this dump truck that backs up and dumps expectations all over us. And those expectations are dropped on us by our parents, our extended family, schools, care providers, culture, media, government, society. The list is huge. So we're standing at the center of those circumstances and those expectations, trying to develop our own personal identity. We start a life. We go to school, we make friends, we get jobs, we pair off, maybe we start a family of our own. And all of that happens often without us ever questioning it, without us ever stopping and asking ourselves what we want. What do I want? Do I want this? Is the story I'm telling myself about who I am my story, or is it the story I was told? Is what I want, or is it what I have been told by media, family, parents, all this kind of stuff I should want, right? Now, this is important because knowing what we want helps us make better decisions, and it helps us commit more fully to the actions that are necessary to get what we want. So, for example, I have this client, and what does she want? She wants better work-life balance. But as we broke that down, what that really means for her is that she wants more flexibility with her time so she can spend time on her health and be more available for her family. She wants to do work that is not as emotionally and physically draining, something that's going to energize her, but doesn't bum her out when the work is done, right? And she's intrigued about starting a part-time business, but she doesn't know when or how or any of that. She also wants to make more money in the long run so she can pay off her student loans more quickly and save more. So that's what she wants. So once we know what we want, we have to write it all down. And writing it all down is so important because the act of writing out what you want gets it out of the theoretical and makes it real. It gets it out of your mind and your body and into the world. And in my changes a bitch video, I think that was 2 weeks ago, I talk more about this and I get into detail. And so we're going to link to that section of the video in the replay email so that you can go look at that. So I don't repeat it here if you've already watched it. So let us know in the comments or in the DMs if you want to get added to those replay emails if you aren't on them already. But this act of writing it out is a very, very powerful thing because if we just have it running in our head, it just runs in our head. It's not real, right? It's just a part of our head. But once it's on paper, it's like a thing, right? It's really important. So once we have opted out of the work-life balance drama and are focused on figuring out, defining a life that we want and how to create a work adventure to support that, and we've written down what we want, next we have to open our arms to the discomfort of it all and welcome it and accept it. And don't be surprised by it and not fight it because it's coming, right? Any change that you make, whether it's to your work-life balance, whether it's to your job, whether it's to your home, whether it's to your health, whatever it is, any change you make is going to bring discomfort. And that's good, right? That means you're doing something important, that you are moving your life forward, right? So let's rewrite that script and celebrate that feeling. Right? Take yourself out for ice cream, have a cocktail, and remind yourself that you are kicking ass doing hard shit and doing uncomfortable stuff that's worth celebrating. And let's be clear, living a full life, living a rich life is uncomfortable. To love is uncomfortable. To seek fulfillment is uncomfortable. To care about fellow humans is uncomfortable. To follow your dream is uncomfortable. To be awake is uncomfortable, right? So love that. Enjoy it. Welcome it. This ebb and flow in and out of discomfort and comfort is necessary to engage in life fully and to make change. So now that we've welcomed the discomfort, we got to take action, right? Because action is the key to propel anything forward. So to do that, we need an action plan. And we need an action plan that is full of little action, right? Because here's the thing about action. Action begets more action. When you take action, it's motivating, it's energizing, it's confidence building. And every little action will make taking that next action easier. And on the flip side of that, inaction encourages more inaction, right? The less action you take, the more likely you're going to take less action, right? So you have to start taking action now, imperfect action, right? And as much as I would like to take one big perfect action and poof, everything I want and need has changed, that just isn't the way it works. So little action, small incremental action is the unsung hero of lasting change. So we need a short-term action plan to help organize that action. And short-term plans are better than long-term plans in this situation because often long-term plans where you go, okay, in 3 years, I want to be living in Seattle doing XYZ or whatever, but right now I'm here. Planning that it's overwhelming and it's hard to implement. There are too many moving parts and too many unknowns, but short-term plans are perfect, right? Because they're manageable and you can see success quickly. So personally, when I work with folks or even with myself, I'm doing like 1 month at a time, right? So I want to go back to my client. So her job is not flexible, but she's not ready to quit, but she wants to make time. So after doing a time audit, we discover that she is saying yes to a lot of extra responsibilities at work. And she's doing 90% of the home care work, right? For her and her family and her partner and all of that. And she spends an hour in the mornings looking at Instagram on the weekends, right? She wakes up, she scrolls Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So we created this short-term action plan, which is uncomfortable, but it's important. Okay. So it includes celebration. So step one in her plan is to step down from the 2 committees that she is on in her work and say no to any other extra work that's asked of her that comes her way. Right. And this is not work that is included in her contract, right? This is extra work that she is just saying yes to that she didn't quite realize that she is doing. Right. So, and after doing that, she's going to congratulate herself by getting Starbucks in the morning after she quits or says no to anything, right? Like that's the celebration that she wanted. She decided, you know what, this is how I'm going to celebrate saying no, because she wants to celebrate saying no. So she's going to get Starbucks in the morning every time she says no and after she quits these 2 committees that she's on. The step 2 of her action plan is she's going to sit down with her partner and start a discussion about the home care situation. She's going to identify the areas where they can lessen the load and set and implement specific deliverables, right? Like solutions for each of them to do about how they're going to do that. This process is going to happen during the month. As you can imagine, she expects this to be a difficult conversation, an uncomfortable conversation, right? And she's decided that after she does this and she commits to doing this and having this conversation, she's going to take her daughter to a movie, just the 2 of them, to celebrate. Not that she's talking to her daughter about doing this thing, having this conversation, with her daughter's dad, but to celebrate, she's going to celebrate by spending this extra time, just her and her daughter, and go to the movies. And then the third thing in this month's action plan is that she's going to skip the scroll, right? And she's going to start walking in the mornings on the weekends. And she decided that she did not need a celebration because she said being outside is celebration enough. So, but those are the actions that we have worked together and that she has decided she's going to do for this first month. And what's great about this is that then she's going to measure it, right? At the end of the month, she's going to stop and say, okay, 1, did I do those things? 2, did I celebrate them? Because that's an important part. Right? I mean, if you do them, but you don't celebrate yourself for doing them, we don't want to do that. We want to celebrate ourselves for taking this kind of action. So she's going to celebrate herself and she's going to measure it to see if she's done it by the end of the month. And then we create a new month's plan. So we've talked about how work-life balance is a myth and there is only life and your work is there to support that life. We've talked about how, we've talked about a couple ways to improve how that work can support your life. How stop striving for work-life balance as it is currently understood can help because it's unsustainable. We've talked instead about how to get to know what you want unapologetically and to write that down so it becomes more real. We've talked about how to get comfortable with the discomfort that's going to come with change. And we've talked about the importance of action and how to create a short-term action plan and take little actions to make progress on your goals. So these are just a couple of ways that you can help to expand your concept of what work-life balance is and have some tangible, practical tools for you to move forward on that. And if you have any questions about this or you want to dive in a little deeper, or if you want a script about how to ask, I just thought of this now, a script about how to ask your partner to sit down and have this conversation about the work at home, the labor at home, let me know because I can help you out with a script on that one. It is possible I have had that conversation a couple of times with people. So yes. So anyway, let us know if this is helpful. Let us know if you need any help with this, and we will see you next week.